what she's doing right now? She just put on live on the internet a show that she started right now. So you might have a little delay with her, but she's working with this Zeta out of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who has a WOW podcast, and so there's guests, going on.
If there's anything you need, Miss Zeta, feel free to let me know just until Emily comes back.
I'm back whenever you guys are ready.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to World of Women podcast through Zeta's Healthy Beginnings. Today is April the 12th, and we are looking forward to nice spring. It's not happening everywhere, but we're happy to be here. I welcome everybody to this wonderful podcast. And this evening, we are going to listen to my friend, Kathleen, and hear all she is going to share with us. And be ready to also ask her some questions that will help us learn more about her for what she does. And before we start, I just want to let you guys know once again that this podcast is brought to you by World of Ability podcast in collaboration with Transform You Network and PAC. We're always excited. We're always grateful for the opportunity to use this platform to communicate and support our women all over the world. And let me read a little bit about Kathleen's bio. Kathleen Woodhouse is a career and life transition coach trained by Coach for Life, a coaching training program accredited by the International Coaching Federation. She has spoken at Be a Healer workshop, Celebrating Women in Business conference, and was on Women's View Radio. Isn't that interesting? Through the coaching process, she has empowered women entering the workforce, changing careers, or starting a business to know who they are, identify what they want, and gain confidence to reach their goals. In addition, Kathleen has mentored young women, curated confidence-building workshops, and founded a networking support group for women in business. And honestly, this is the kind of woman that we want to have on the podcast to share what she does, and which is really a lot. So I'm glad to welcome Kathleen to our podcast. Over to you, Kathleen.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to being a guest for a while now, so I appreciate this opportunity. I really just wanted to, I love the intro that you gave me, but I wanted to take a little bit more time since I don't know, people here that are here now or maybe watching live. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how I got to where I am. It's no accident that my focus is building women's confidence. That is something that I had to work on, for myself, especially in my career. And so that's why I love coaching women in their careers and helping them to build their confidence so that they can make the income and the impact that they desire. That was something that was always very important to me. I knew I wanted to help people. I thought that was, something that set me apart, as I was learning about careers in high school and trying to figure things out. I said, I want to help people. So I was guided to social work. And when I went to the first few classes, I was like, wait, this isn't what I want to do. And now that I've been coaching almost, April is my 10-year anniversary. So I have been coaching for 10 years. And one thing that everybody who comes to me says is that they want to help people. And so I've really learned that, you know, we're each born unique and we have unique gifts, but we're designed to use those gifts to help others in some way. And so through my coaching experience, I help women to find the ways that they're meant to help others. So I help them to find what their gifts are, what they're not, you know, I believe that we, you know, like I said, we each have God-given gifts, and I help them to find those. I help them to find their values and to determine their purpose. So those are some of the things that I love to do. And like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So after I found out that social work wasn't for me, I knew in that plan that I always wanted to continue my education, but I didn't know in what. And so I had switched to sociology and I got my degree in that. And then when I graduated, I was like, now what? What do I do with this? And there wasn't much to do with a sociology degree except for teach it. And I was like, I don't think that's what I really want to do. So I ended up substitute teaching, and I knew part of me was thought about counseling, and I had lived in New York State at the time, and I knew that I had to teach at least a few years to become a guidance counselor. And so I ended up going on and continuing my education and getting a master's degree in childhood education. And so I had the education and training, and I knew that I was good at teaching, but I still didn't feel like I was connected to my purpose. And so I took the time to pray and meditate and write and ask myself a lot of important questions to help me determine what it was, because I had thought about going back to school for counseling since I hadn't chose that, but I didn't want to spend more time and more money on something and come out feeling the same and still not know what my purpose was. And I know that there's a lot of women, because I've worked with a lot of women, that don't know what their purpose is, or they feel, you know, that there's something more for them, but they're not really sure what it is. And so that was me. You know, I didn't have that clarity until I really took the time and found a process to help me to determine what my purpose was. And so, you know, before I knew what it was and what my gifts were, you know, it was very, it was confusing. I felt, you know, that I didn't have the value that I was looking for. I wasn't making the impact that I wanted. And I know these are some of the things that women go through, is that they're not feeling that they're using their full potential. They're not really confident in who they are and what they're doing because they're not in line with their purpose. And so maybe they're in jobs that they don't like. And so I've worked with women who are, you know, stay-at-home moms, maybe coming back into the workforce and feeling like they don't have the skills. They say a lot of times, oh, I haven't really done anything. I've been home. You know, they talk themselves down. I've worked with a lot of women who are in jobs that they say they just landed and they didn't really know what they wanted to do, and they're very unhappy because they're not aligned. I've worked with women who were laid off, and that really took a toll on their confidence. And even though I had worked with women who had gone through that, until I actually experienced that, I didn't know how strongly that does affect. I mean, I knew, like I said, because I worked with them, but really got to experience that firsthand, and it took a toll on me, and I know that it does on other women. So those are some of the situations. I've worked with women who were just coming into the workforce and trying to figure out what it was that they wanted to study. I worked at a college for close to 4 years, helping students to find their pathway and make better decisions. You know, I didn't have somebody that helped to guide me. And so that's something that I've been able to do. So like I mentioned, I knew I wanted to make an impact, but I didn't really know how. And I felt like it was time to explore and turn in. So something that I learned was that a lot of times we look outside of ourselves for the answers. And it's really about looking inside and looking at who you are, what you want, what your goals are, what excites you. And so those are some of the things that I help women to do, is to really do a lot of self-exploration and figure out through assessments and conversation and writing and guided meditation and a lot of different tools to really give an environment where my clients can explore who they are and become more confident in themselves. for me, I started coaching, like I said, about 10 years ago. Back then, it wasn't known like it is now. Now it is actually kind of trendy. Everybody's a different kind of coach. When I started, I had to explain to a lot of people what coaching was. So for me, it was really about, it wasn't about finding like this cool job or, something that's, in right now. It was really about finding who I was. And then coaching became a tool that I could use to help women to empower themselves and make the income and the impact that they desire. So something that I kind of mentioned, like, we each have unique gifts. So sometimes what I find with my clients is that they know they have gifts, but they don't know what they are. And that was me as well. So I don't know if maybe some of you can relate to that. Speaking is one of my gifts. Writing is one of my gifts. Meeting people is one of my gifts. To me, I felt like, well, anyone who's kind of educated learns how to write and knows how to speak. And so how are those, they know how to listen. And so I thought, well, how are those really my gifts? I couldn't see it. And so, like I said, I was still searching for these gifts. But now that I've met many more people and I realize that listening is a skill and not everybody takes time to listen to others, I realized that not everybody likes to speak and present in front of groups, and not everybody has the skill. Maybe they know how to physically write, but how to put words together and, arrange them in different ways that make sense for other, people to understand. Those are gifts. And so I've learned what my gifts are and how I can use them. And that's what I want for every woman that I work with, is to really know who they are and have confidence in those gifts, and then use them to help others and in their journey. And so I know you want this interactive. If anyone has any questions at any time, please do ask. I'm happy to have conversation, but I just I'll just keep going unless somebody asks. So once I went through the coaching training, I learned more about myself and confirmed what I had done on my own, right? So I had, like mentioned, I did a lot of writing and asking questions, and I actually used those same questions that I asked myself on my clients as well through coaching sessions. Coaching is a unique process. I love that I get to provide a space for women to explore and find out things, I'm learning about them as they're learning about themselves. And so that's a really unique and special process. And I've been able to develop a lot of bonds, with women. And I've had people reach out to me years later and, say, thanks, that was so special. And it's been years and, they're like, do you remember me? Of course I remember. When people share that experience with me, I do remember. And it is really, it's not something I take lightly and just, it's fun. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's a really intimate and personal experience. And so that's what I want to say about that.
I think actually, Kathleen, you are really awesome, and people have commented even on Facebook and LinkedIn and everything, how warm you are, how friendly you are, trying to really accompany your own purpose as well as accompany women, accomplish your own purpose and accompany women who are still searching. And I do have, some of my clients who are young women who also have kids. And now, as we know what society is all about, women juggle a lot. And that's why I love them anyway, because we get things done when we juggle. And I also know that some of the issues women have these days is not being able to recognize who they are, actually, their value in the society. And it's partly what the society has brought on us. And this is a forum where we try to talk about it and to really reassure us that, we don't have to accept what the society puts on us. You have to stand up to your own self and say, this is me, this is how I show up, and I must live life to the fullest. So Kathleen, for a young woman who is searching, but she is shy, she's confused, she doesn't know where to turn, how would you really let her find you and really find whatever she's gonna, use to help build up her own self?
Yeah, so finding it is the hard part. That comes with for me, it's a lot of personal in-person networking, a lot of virtual networking right now, but in the past, a lot of in-person networking. When I was working at the college, it was even students didn't even know about me there either. So I designed a lot of workshops and, would advertise those workshops where, students could come to me and get to know me a little bit first before they would sit down with me one-on-one. I always like to talk to whoever I'm working with to make sure it's a good fit. There are so many different coaches and different personalities. And so like I said, it's a very personal thing. So for me, it's really important to talk to, whoever it is to see where they're at. And I know a number of coaches. So sometimes, I might refer someone to a different coach that, might be better suited for them. But if it is a good match, then that's where we'll set up, what is right for them, how many, times. And of course, there's, financial things as well that we discuss, and, time frames and schedules and things like that. And so it's always good to have that conversation first to make sure that everything is set up. But once it is, we find it's a good fit and we work through all the logistics. A lot of times I start with assessment of, where somebody is at, because we go just a little bit deeper. Maybe I talk to them a little bit, but I want to know more, right? Like, what are they really feeling? And going through, like you said, some people are shy at first. That's why having that, building that trust is really important. But I, as you mentioned, and I appreciate your compliments earlier, but having that personality where people do feel warm and, welcomed, from me really helps in that situation where I can build that trust, and it comes natural, where I have strangers tell me, stories in the grocery line and things like that, right? So I just have that personality where people do open up. A lot of times, especially when I first started, it surprised me that so many people would have even, husbands, or they would be close to their mom or other relationships, but yet they didn't tell them some of the things that they were struggling with the most. And so, that's where through the process, they're able to open up and share those things with somebody that's not a family member, that's not going to judge them, that doesn't already have the opinion that they told them 10 times or however 100 times. Sometimes it's best to start with the situation and look at it, start fresh with it, and look at it, from where you are that day, because it could change, like think of any problem that you have, and it's like one day maybe you feel something and a different day you have a different opinion about it. And so it's always best to start wherever that client is. And so something that I provide is just that open space and that new fresh mindset of, we'll just start where you are. And then it's important to gain the clarity of where they want to go. And so that's a whole another set. But once they do that, then we're able to build the steps in between to start building their confidence. And it's you've worked with a lot of women as well, so you probably know this, but sometimes it feels like a big overwhelming problem. But once you actually sit down and see where you're at and where you want to go, a lot of times it's not as big as it seemed before. And then you have someone helping. So it's easier to break things down and move the people through very quickly.
So true, so true. And one thing you just mentioned there that is so important is being non-judgmental. Because, a lot of women, from my experience working with them, have a lot of self condemnation coming from what they were told when they were when they were children, and what they were told when they started going to school and making mistakes, and it's like, you're no good and stuff like that. And believe it or not, some of the words we speak to our children, they are powerful. And some teachers also. So anyone that is actually taking care of a young person needs to be really mindful, because whatever we talk to people, young people for that matter, it sticks in their head. And you might be surprised how things that happened while we were like in our teen ages are still having a lot of impact on us, especially the negative ones. We don't even retain the positive, comments or whatever that was done
Yeah.
to us, but the negative ones, they stick, especially abuse. So I know that a lot of women carry this whole pain and sadness in them, and then those things will continue to manifest in several ways. And you're like, oh my goodness, I never even knew that this has an impact on me. So working with someone with Kathleen will help you to really dig deep to find out what is it that I'm still carrying along, that I started, getting from either from my parents or my friends or schoolmates or whatever, bullying and all that. All of that have impact on us. So I am so glad that we have Kathleen and her profession and her gifts, because it's one thing to get educated, but like she rightly said, knowing who you are and what your life purpose is makes life journey easier, because you know what, until we find out why we're put on this planet Earth to do, we will continue to struggle. And I know that a lot of women are still struggling. They don't know why they're here. Those that know how to know why they are here do not have the right companion, or do not have all it takes to really follow that path. So I'm glad Kathleen is available, and I am encouraging everybody here to please reach out to her, because she is the real deal. That's what I've been told. And I agree that she will be in the position to really help you if the match is right, or she can connect you. All you know is that you're in good hands with Kathleen. And I am also, inviting other people. If anybody has a question to ask, please unmute yourself, ask, or Kathleen can also continue to talk to us about herself and what she does.
I just want to comment on what you said. I just also want to make sure, there definitely is some work that I can do with mindset. But if somebody does have, trauma or things like that, I would refer them to a different specialist. Like, that's not my area, but I am all about moving forward, from where you are and where you want to go. But sometimes just being able to point out a belief, like, questioning something somebody said, like, is that true? Like when they say there's no jobs out there, I had a lot of students would say that. I said, you live in Dallas, you're not like in a small town in Ohio. Are you sure there's no jobs out there? Things like that. And so getting them to just look at something in a different perspective sometimes it's amazing how powerful that can be when somebody just questions you, and then you see things a little different, and it's, can be more optimistic. And so, sometimes that job process, of transitioning into something new or coming back into the workforce, like you mentioned, mothers coming, into the workforce and things like that. It's amazing how fast that can change when you have somebody there helping you through the steps and just building you up, each time. And then something fun, that I enjoyed, especially when I first started, people would tell me, oh, I heard you the other day. And I'm like, what do you mean? But, the things that you say do make a difference. Just like you said, when you're a child, you hear those things, but if somebody's reinforcing you as an adult and sharing positive beliefs and telling those, you can reinforce them, throughout the week until you see them again, and then you hear new things. And so it really does help change the mindset. So does anybody else have any questions?
Any questions, comments? Unmute yourself, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I came late.
Yeah,
I
that's
came
okay.
late, but when what I'm hearing is that I have some comment because I teach, and I've heard a lot of people nowadays, they'll talk. Sometimes you find a group of students and like, we have so many extroverts here, we need some introverts. It has really made some students feel they want to be introverts. Because it has been like said, and most of these are girls that I deal with, oh, introverts are better because they are not going to say things what they shouldn't say. And the extroverts, you are all bubbling all the time, whatever. And it has just changed the mood sometimes in people, even in adults, because they don't know who they are and where they are. So that comment was done by Zita. You said that you should know who you are until you find out who you are. So for adolescents, Kathleen, how do you deal with that? Because it's just like all of it's a thing today. We are introverts or extroverts, they take only part of that. And it's not really instilled by parents, but it's among the peers. And it destroys the character because somebody who is born or prone to being extrovert wants to shun away from that behavior, to look good, to please the people in the environment.
It's interesting you brought this up because I've actually had the other side where everybody it seems like I talk to is like, oh, I'm an introvert, and they use that as an excuse to not reach out to people and to not make friends and to do these things. And so a lot of times I will challenge them on that and say, well, is that true? I mean, they just told me how they met a new friend and called them and all this stuff, and so making them see that. But for me, I think it's really important that you look at the whole picture. So whether you're introvert or extrovert is one thing. If you've taken, strengths finders and you know what those, your top strengths are, those things are great, but they're only pieces of who you are, right? Those are just assessments that help you learn a little bit about yourself. It doesn't help you to know your purpose, just if you're introverted or extroverted. And actually, from my experience, that's actually more about how you recharge as well. So a lot of times, especially in coaching, I find that a lot of coaches will say, they're very introverted. And, from me taking the assessment, I would be, but anybody who would meet me or know me would say, what, you're so extroverted, you talk. But how I recharge is I need time by myself. And that's what helps me, as far as being introverted. So I think it's really important not to judge somebody on them saying, oh, I'm introverted or extroverted, and not to use that as excuses not to challenge yourself or learn something new or fall into your, in line with your purpose. So I think, like I said, it's a little piece, but there's so much more that I feel that you need to know about who you are, what your gifts are and who you're meant to serve. And then if hey, well, I'm meant to speak and I'm meant to, share who I am, but then I know I'm also, need to recharge by myself. And so I take that time to myself. So like I said, I think it's really important to know about yourself, but to know the big picture and to learn different areas.
Absolutely. I think that's well said, because your personality is only one piece of you. And that's not even something one can use to make a judgment on other people, like to say I'm this and therefore I need that. I mean, we all need each other. Mm-hmm. But the critical thing, and I understand dealing with adolescents, it's a challenge. It is not easy because they come up with all kinds of stuff. And when I deal with them, I remember when I was like them. Sometimes you don't even think through anything. You just talk. Yeah. So that's part of growing up. But it is very critical for at that stage for them to start thinking, what is it that I want to do with my life? That's a whole broad aspect of one's life, like you rightly put it, not just the tiny personality, that they stick to, but I know sometimes it's just part of growing up as well. But it is very critical that we know why we're here. It is not easy, I must say that, to know why anyone is here or your life purpose, because the only way to know it is by also going into yourself, doing that hard work, to find out what are the things that really tickle me, what are the things that push my buttons, so all of that you need to really go through on your own. It takes time. Like Kathleen said, this is not something that happens overnight, because when Kathleen shared her own experience, it just did not happen. She wanted to do this and went to school, and then it's like asking by herself, is this really what I want? You might make mistakes. That's part of the journey. But what is important is you're still staying on that path of wanting to know. And I know once one even turns to the universe, asking God for direction and working with friends and people who can actually accompany one, it makes it easier. But in general, finding your life purpose, it doesn't matter who you are, it's not really an overnight journey. So it's good for all of us to know that and bear that in mind as we journey on our own and with other people, that nothing comes easy once it comes to who we are and what our purpose is on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have two more comments I just want to share with you, especially since you're working with students in the classroom, it sounds like. So, one thing is, if you're guiding students to choose, what their next steps are, from my experience, I think it's more important to help them to find out what they want to do versus I feel a lot of times there's a focus to pick a major. I'm going to study English, or I'm going to study, psychology, or I'm going to study this type of thing. But the more clear you can help them to determine what it is they actually want to do, how do they want to help people, how do they want to inspire people, I think that is more helpful, because then you can find different pathways to get there. And so, so many times it's like, I would get students who are, about to graduate and they still don't know what they want to do. They've chosen the major, but they don't know what they can do with it. They don't know how to apply it. And so I think it's really important to have those conversations about how do you want to influence people, encouraging students to think of themselves as, community members and leaders, because that transition period when they go from, even in high school, they can be involved in clubs and community service and getting experience, because that will help them as well to learn what they like and what they're good at, so the more they get involved and have, talk to other people about their careers and, like I said, volunteering and get experience, get a part-time job, those things will help them as well to learn more about themselves and what they like and what they're passionate about. So hopefully you can, start inspiring some of those conversations. For me, I would see people and I could see their gifts, because, now I know that was one of my gifts, was I could see that, oh, this person's so great at this. And, I was able to help a lot of friends and things before I even knew what I wanted to do. I would help guide them to what they should do because I could see it. And so sometimes it's just harder to see in yourself. So encouraging those conversations and when you see that somebody is good at speaking or asking questions or, whatever it is, just one little thing, if you see it, just sharing and, letting them know that you see that in them, because that's a lot of times what will help build their confidence as well. Is they'll be like, really, you think so? And they question it. And I say, yeah, why would I lie about that? Like, why would I tell you those things? And so just really encouraging and showing them that you can see the differences, that they have. And I think that's really important.
Yes, thank you so much. And for women, we are all, sensitive, and the little positive comments really goes a long way. So to support and that really helps them as they grow, to really start inclining towards positive vibes instead of, the negative one, because we tend to get stuck with anything negative and really not pursue the positive aspect of our lives. So this is really an awesome, wonderful, yeah. Go ahead, Sister Bridget.
You made me laugh because because I had a bunch of students. We have like a homecoming, and there is this tendency, among the girls, like Catherine was saying, they want to learn something. They think life is just that piece of information, or piece of something that they know, but there's more to it than that. So the other aspect that has come into the whole thing is the idea, how we used to have the word, oh, you're so awesome. And everybody came up, awesome, Mom, you're awesome, awesome. It was the word of the day. So each time there are words that come and they use them, and I like them, seeing them use them because they learn the vocabulary. But the other thing that comes behind that is the idea of saying what your dress is so nice. Sometimes a girl may not even be dressed nice. Other people don't tell the truth. Even in adults, you look so pretty, and it's not true. The dress is not nice. There's that we run away from the truth to say, if I tell this is negative, the person will be upset. But it would be so nice to be truthful and say, I don't think this dress, this color, would you mind try another one? Perhaps this will be okay. But we just go ahead and say, you look so beautiful, everything is super. So when they go out, she comes out, everybody said the dress was so ugly, but you said it was nice. That was not nice. These are like, in their 18, 19-year-old students. So when you talk about self-acceptance, we talk about that. I think the society also needs to pick up things that are truthful, even among ourselves, older people. I would say, do you like what I'm wearing? They say, oh, that's so beautiful. But probably it's not on my skin. Probably if I got a red color, it would be better, to bring out my skin. So, but there's also fear. If I say that, I offend. So I don't know what comment you would have on that one.
Well, for me, I think it's really important. Do they feel good in it? Not everybody is going to like the top I'm wearing right now. Somebody could look at it and say, why do you have metal on your shirt? Or why are there holes in it? Or whatever it is, right? Like somebody's always going to have an opinion, and nobody's always going to agree. That's why there's so many styles, right? So when you're talking about, clothing specifically, or, jewelry or things like that, I think it is really important to encourage, what they like. What makes them feel good and feel confident. And that's something, I learned. So for me, a lot of times, especially in my place of work, I didn't have to dress up. A lot of people, would wear pants, maybe a blouse, something like that. I like to wear dresses. So I would wear dresses, and people would always say, why are you dressed up? Why are you wearing a dress? And they would look at it like that. Well, I'm wearing it because I like it. I feel good in it. I feel confident in it. And so, that's something that I think we, all have to get comfortable with who we are and what we like and what makes us feel good. But if I'm wearing something that I feel really good in, then I present myself differently than, when I was younger, I remember, I had to wear hand-me-downs, or I didn't have a lot of, the latest trends and clothes and things like that. And I remember feeling like very self-conscious. But now, to me, it's not about, a name brand or this or that. It's just about me, what I like, what feels good on my body, what makes me feel strong and feminine, things like that. And so just learning myself and what I like.
Anyone else? You guys excuse me, free to comment, ask questions. Unmute yourself, please. Kathleen, have you put your information on the chart so people have your address and contact info?
Yes, I did put my email address and phone number, and I'm grabbing my LinkedIn link right now as well, because I see Emily put hers in there. That's a good idea there. Oh, I think you have to add the HTTP in front of it.
Yeah. So everyone, please share your contact so we all can connect outside this platform, because it is important that we support, look for support for ourselves, but also support one another in our journey, family and friends. And I always know that the issue of women's issue is really a global issue. Let me put it that way, because women really carry the burden of the world. We do that in our families, we do that in communities, and we do that globally. So empowering ourselves, empowering one another is critical to who we are and what we're called to be. And it's only when we do that, no one is going to do it for us. It's only when we do that that we get that power, that positive vibe to function and function well. And I can't stress it enough that you really need to get that positive energy to survive this day and age. There's all kinds of forces coming against us, both physical and spiritual. And the only way to survive is always to look for something positive, to do for ourselves, to share with one another, and to share with the community and our world. So this is a wonderful opportunity, and listening to Kathleen share with us is awesome. I'm so thankful that you got the time to come share with us on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also want to share, feel free, like you said, to connect, but also, if anybody needs a speaker, you want me to come to your classroom or, talk to your students, things like that, I'd be happy to do that as well. I love to inspire women, and especially young women, if we can, and it just doesn't have to be women, it could be all your students, but, I think it's really important when people are choosing their careers and, thinking about things in a different way and really connecting to meaning and purpose rather than just making money or doing something, just because it's there or they don't know what else to do. And so being very intentional is really important. So I'd love to help out in any other groups or podcasts where I can.
Yeah, true. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anyone else has something to add? Emily, are you there? What question do you have for Kathleen?
I thought it was a great conversation. I don't know if I necessarily have a question at the moment.
Thank you. I hope you feel better. I know they said you weren't feeling very well today, so I hope you feel well soon.
I'm sure I will.
All right. So next week, Tuesday, we will be having another presenter. Her name is Marianne, and she is also a coach. She is a life coach, and I know that we can get enough of coaches, especially for women. Honestly, for who we are, for what we're called to be, we need a lot of coaching. We need a lot of support, like I've always said, and we can find it in so many different ways. But one of the important ways to seek for it is at World of Women podcast, because we have women who are really intentional about life, about their life purpose. And when they come here to share with us, is always awesome. It's very educational, and it is interesting to see that there are women out there who are really interested in not only building themselves up, but also helping other women. For me, that is really consoling, because most of the time people journey alone and it can be very frustrating, and you can be so confused that there are all kinds of options out there, but the question is, which one really meets your purpose? That is the question. And I'm glad that here we do our best to provide each other with the support that is necessary to help us in our journey to our life purpose. So thank you so much for coming, Kathleen, and hopefully you're gonna come back again.
I would love to. I would love
Yeah,
to. You just
sure.
let me know.
Yeah, you can join us
I
anytime.
will. Sure, I
Thank
will.
you.
You're welcome. All right. So does anyone have any questions to ask? The other thing I also wanted to say quickly is, so next week we're going to be transitioning to live streaming, and live stream I hear is it's actually, they said it's actually better, easier to manage, and you don't really have to worry about it. Just log in and we follow the direction. It's very easy to follow, and nothing that is so a big deal about it. The one reason why we want to do this is the live stream is where people are going right now. That's the new trend. And also it gives Zita's Healthy Beginning as well as World of Women podcast and what do you call it? An elevation and more publicity. So we want to take advantage of that opportunity as we grow in this community of supporting women and supporting, our life purpose. So just so you know, next Tuesday, that's going to be happening here, but just feel free to log on here and then we take it from there. So I'm so glad that we all find the time to be with one another this evening. And I'm looking forward for next week's podcast. And Sister Bridget, do you have something else to add before we conclude?
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. So, okay, Kathleen, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Thank you to you too.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right.